Hello and welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why and how of newspaper reading from UPSC Civil Services examination perspective. And today we'll take up the important news appearing in the New Delhi edition of the Hindu newspaper dated 17th February 2023, and the news to be discussed has been displayed on your screen. Now let's start our discussion with this lead article appearing on page number 8. And this article is with respect to the delay in conduct of election for the post of mayor for New Delhi Municipal Corporation. Now, as we all know that elections for the municipal corporation took place recently in Delhi, and according to the result, Aam Aadmi Party had a clear majority, followed by Bharatiya Janata Party. So Aam Aadmi Party won 134 seats and Bharatiya Janata Party won 104 seats out of 250 seats. However, the problem is with respect to delay in conduct of elections for the post of mayor, as there have been 3 attempts for the conduct of elections, and so far none of these 3 attempts have been successful. So the Aam Aadmi Party has alleged that the central government through the LG is trying to sabotage the election of the office of mayor. So in this regard, this article suggests that the political machinations at Delhi Municipal Corporation are part of the union government's growing attempts to have a strange hold on city's governance. So basically, the central government wants to control the municipal corporation or the municipal governance of Delhi. And here one of the major concern highlighted is with respect to the nomination of 10 members by LG. That is, LG has nominated 10 members having special knowledge of municipal administration, but LG had provided them voting rights. Now the Municipal Corporation Act of 1957 and also the constitutional provision suggest otherwise. So here let us understand about some of the important provisions of the Delhi Municipal Corporation Act 1957, the important constitutional provision of Article 243, Clause 2, Subclause A, and also about some of the concerns which has been highlighted in this article. So first of all, let us go through section 35, which mentions about annual election of mayor and deputy mayor under the Delhi Municipal Corporation Act of 1957. So it says that the corporation shall at its first meeting in each year elect one of its members to be the chairperson, to be known as the mayor, and another member to be the deputy mayor of the corporation. On the occurrence of any vacancy in the office of mayor or deputy mayor, the corporation shall within 1 month of the occurrence of such vacancy elect one of its members as mayor or deputy mayor, as the case may be. An election of the Delhi Municipal Corporation is conducted by the State Election Commission of Delhi and not the Election Commission under Article 324 of the Indian Constitution. So please remember these important points from your prelims point of view. Now, because of delay in the conduct of election to the office of mayor, Aam Aadmi Party filed a petition in the Supreme Court. And a 3-judge bench led by the Chief Justice of India has observed that the nominated members do not have voting rights. So let us understand this aspect of whether nominated members have voting rights or not through the Delhi Municipal Corporation Act of 1957. Now the nominated members are generally referred as aldermen. So before going into the provisions of Delhi Municipal Corporation Act and also understanding the constitutional provision, let us first quickly identify the issues which the Supreme Court will look into, or the grounds on which Supreme Court will give its decision. And the first point highlighted here is with respect to the control by the central government over Delhi's administration. Now in general, we often hear about the controversy between the LG and the Chief Minister. And lately, the Aam Aadmi Party has also accused the BJP government of administering Delhi through its LG. And in this case, the delay in the conduct of election to the office of mayor has further added to this notion of Aam Aadmi Party that central government wants to control the municipal corporation or the municipal administration of Delhi. The second point highlighted here is the control of municipal corporation by higher levels of governments. Now here it includes both state governments and also central governments, and also the issue of subsidiarity comes into picture. That is, if a function can be done at a lower level, then the state or the center should not get involved into the functionality. So this is the second point highlighted in this article, that we are witnessing excessive control either by the state governments or by the central government with respect to local governance. The third issue highlighted by the author is that the Delhi Municipal Corporation prohibits voting rights to nominated members. So for this, let's go through this provision of Delhi Municipal Corporation Act. So it mentions about establishment of the corporation. And here it highlights that with effect from such date as the central government may notify in the official gazette, there shall be a corporation charged with municipal government of Delhi to be known as the Municipal Corporation of Delhi. And the municipal corporation shall be composed of the councillors. Now, councillors according to this act shall be chosen by direct election. So whoever wins by direct election is a councillor on the basis of adult suffrage from various wards into which Delhi shall be divided in accordance with the provision of Delhi Municipal Corporation Act. So the corporation shall be composed of councillors, and the following persons shall be represented in the corporation, namely 10 persons who are not less than 25 years of age and who have special knowledge or experience in municipal administration to be nominated by the administrator. Now here the administrator means the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. However, these provisions further highlights that persons nominated under this subclause, that is here, shall not have the right to vote in the meetings of the corporation. So clearly the provisions of Delhi Municipal Corporation highlights that the members nominated by the LG having special knowledge or experience in municipal administration shall not have the right to vote in meetings of the corporation. So this is clearly highlighted in the Delhi Municipal Corporation Act of 1957. Now on this note, let's also go through Article 243R to A. So Article 243R mentions about composition of municipalities, and it says that a legislature of a state may by law provide for the representation in a municipality of persons having special knowledge or experience in municipal administration. However, it says that those persons referred here, that is those persons having special knowledge or experience in municipal administration, shall not have the right to vote in the meetings of municipality. And these provisions of the Constitution are reflected under Section 3 of Delhi Municipal Corporation Act, where it clearly says that these 10 persons nominated by the LG shall not have the right to vote in the meetings of the corporation. Now the Constitution under Article 243R Clause 2 further says that the legislature of a state may by law provide for manner of election of the chairperson of a municipality. So the manner of election for the chairperson of a municipal corporation can be provided by the law made by state legislature. And accordingly, Section 35 of the Delhi Municipal Corporation Act of 1957 provides for annual election of mayor and deputy mayor. The fourth point is that can the LG or the administrator of Delhi nominate aldermen with voting rights? The answer is no, because the Delhi Municipal Corporation Act specifically provides that the LG cannot do so. He can nominate the aldermen having specialized knowledge in municipal administration. However, the criteria to determine the specialized knowledge or special knowledge in municipal administration has not been provided either in the Constitution or in the Delhi Municipal Corporation Act. So this becomes a major concern. And overall, the sixth point emanating from fourth and fifth point is that can LG's choice of nomination of aldermen or nomination of members based on persons having special knowledge in municipal administration be judicially reviewed? So these are the various issues which has been highlighted in this article, and more or less these issues will be decided by the Supreme Court when it hears the matter with respect to delay in conduct of election to the office of Mayor for Delhi Municipal Corporation. Now talking about elections to the Municipal Corporation of Delhi, Section 7 of Delhi Municipal Corporation Act provides for the same. So it says that the superintendence, direction and control of the preparation of electoral rolls for and the conduct of all elections to the corporation shall be vested in the Election Commission of the National Capital Territory of Delhi, consisting of an election commissioner to be appointed by the administrator. That is, the state election commissioner is appointed by the administrator or the LG of Delhi. Now regarding the removal of the election commissioner, it says that the election commissioner shall not be removed from the office except in a like manner and on the like grounds as a judge of a high court, and the conditions of service of election commissioner shall not be varied to his disadvantage after his appointment. Now this aspect of removal as provided in the Delhi Municipal Corporation Act is inspired from Article 243ZA, which mentions about election to municipalities. It says that the superintendence, direction and control of the preparation of electoral rolls for the conduct of all elections to the municipalities shall be vested in the State Election Commission referred to in Article 243K. And Article 243K also mentions about the same with respect to elections to Panchayat. That is, it is to be conducted by the State Election Commission, consisting of a State Election Commissioner to be appointed by the Governor. So in the case of Delhi, the State Election Commissioner is appointed by the LG, that is the Administrator. Now regarding the removal of the State Election Commissioner, Article 243K says that the State Election Commissioner shall not be removed from his office except in like manner and on the like grounds as a judge of a high court, and the conditions of service of the State Election Commissioner shall not be varied to his disadvantage after his appointment. And based on these constitutional provisions, the same aspect has been provided under the Delhi Municipal Corporation Act with respect to removal of State Election Commissioner of Delhi. And judge of a high court is removed on the same grounds as that of a judge of a Supreme Court according to Article 217, Clause 1, Subclause B. So it says, a judge of high court may be removed from office by the President in the manner provided in Clause 4 of Article 124 for the removal of a judge of a Supreme Court. So the State Election Commissioner of Delhi is to be appointed by the LG but can only be removed on the like grounds of that of a judge of a high court. So these are some of the important highlights with respect to elections to the municipal corporation, which is conducted by the State Election Commission of Delhi. So after understanding this topic, let's wait for the Supreme Court judgment to better understand whether the nominated members have voting rights or not. And this topic becomes important particularly from the perspective of GS Paper 2 regarding important features of the Indian Constitution, significant provisions, and also devolution of powers up to the local levels and challenges therein. Now let's take up the next article appearing on page number 8. And this news is with respect to purse seine fishing. Now this is a non-selective method of fishing and it is done generally beyond the territorial sea, that is beyond the 12 nautical miles limit. And fishing is done by using this vast net, and the circumference of this net can be as long as 2 kilometers and the depth can be approx 200 meters. So this news is with respect to this aspect of fishing referred as purse seine fishing. Now what had happened in 2002 February was that the Tamil Nadu government had banned purse seine fishing beyond the territorial sea of the coastal state of Tamil Nadu. However, the Supreme Court has reversed this decision of Tamil Nadu government and has allowed purse seine fishing but beyond the territorial sea, and has also put certain conditionalities. Now, purse seine fishing is basically non-selective method of fishing. As you can see, it's a very vast net. So the idea is to catch a particular fish, but in that process, number of other marine species are also caught. So in a way, it is also an example of excessive fishing. Now the Supreme Court has put certain conditionalities on purse seine fishing and has to be done beyond territorial sea, but within 200 nautical miles of the exclusive economic zone, that is from here to here. So this article mentions certain critical aspects with respect to this particular judgment, as this article suggests that the state government of Tamil Nadu had ensured this ban based on the United Nations Conventions on the Laws of the Seas and also to regulate overfishing, because purse seine fishing is a non-selective method of fishing. So here, first of all, understand that how fishing takes place through purse seine fishing or through the purse seine vessel. Now, since these fishing takes place in deep waters around the exclusive economic zone, hence they are done mostly from a commercial point of view by using purse seine vessel. So from a ship, a massive net is deployed, and this massive net is approx 2 kilometers in its circumference, as you can see here. So this is a very massive net, and it goes as deep as 200 meters. So this is a very wide area to capture fish. And overall, this is a non-selective method of fishing, but the purpose is to catch a certain fish, for example, tuna. So this non-selective method of fishing using purse seine vessels or purse seine nets ends up capturing fishes which are not needed. It leads to overfishing and overexploitation of marine resources. Such overfishing also impacts maritime biodiversity. It also increases mortality of marine wildlife, because those fishes which are not needed, they end up dying and they are finally thrown back into the ocean. And overall, overfishing by the purse seine method affects the livelihood of traditional fishermen who mostly fishes around this area. So this non-selective method of fishing using purse seine vessels has a damaging impact on marine biodiversity and also increases mortality of marine wildlife. And it has been estimated that in the past 50 odd years, close to 50% of the marine wildlife has been depleted because of excessive use of purse seine fishing. So here the author highlights that Tamil Nadu government had banned this purse seine fishing based on the provisions of United Nations Conventions on the Laws of the Seas, which calls for fishing but in a regulated manner and based on scientific research. So here the author suggests that the Supreme Court in its judgment should have gone through the provisions of UNCLOS, that is United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Seas, and should have also considered the impact of excessive fishing through purse seine vessels on the traditional fishermen and their livelihoods. Now, before going into the provisions of United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Seas, based on which the Tamil Nadu government had banned purse seine fishing, also keeping in mind the livelihood aspects of traditional fishermen, first of all, let us go through the important highlights of the Supreme Court judgment. Now, as stated earlier, the Supreme Court has put various conditionalities to purse seine fishing beyond the territorial sea. So it says that in a relief to fishermen of Tamil Nadu, the Supreme Court has conditionally allowed purse seine fishing beyond the territorial waters of the state but within the exclusive economic zone. The next point is that only registered vessels shall be allowed for purse seine fishing. So the court says that in the interest of all parties concerned, that is those fishermen relying on purse seine fishing and also the traditional fishermen, both of them, and accordingly the Supreme Court has imposed certain restrictions. So only those fishing vessels registered under Section 11 of Marine Products Export Development Authority Act of 1972 and those vessels registered with the state government under the rules and regulations currently in force in Tamil Nadu will be given permission to do such fishing, that is purse seine fishing. Further, only such fishing vessels will be allowed having vessel tracking system. So it says that Fisheries Department of Tamil Nadu will give permission to only those boats where approved vessel tracking system has been installed and which shall be kept running during the operating time of vessels, as it will be easier for the fishing department to track such vessels. Further, the vessels for purse seine fishing will be only allowed twice a week, on Monday and Thursday, whereas all other restrictions on non-fishing period will apply to them as applicable to all other fishing activity as well. Further, the Supreme Court has also regulated timings for such fishing and has also provided a color code. So it says that the vessels will be allowed to leave the coastline on or after 8 am and they have to return to the designated place positively by 6 pm the very same day. Regarding the color code, the Fisheries Department of the state shall give a color code to these purse seine fishing boats or vessels, and the registration number of these vessels shall be prominently displayed on the boat. So these are some of the conditionalities for the boats or the vessels for purse seine fishing. So after understanding these important highlights of the Supreme Court judgment, let us go through the important provisions of United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Seas, based on which the author has provided a critical analysis of the Supreme Court judgment. Now this article in particular talks about Article 61 of the United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Seas, and here it mentions about conservation of the living resources. So this provision says that the coastal state, in this case the state of Tamil Nadu, shall determine the allowable catch of the living resources in its exclusive economic zone based on scientific evidence. And based on this, the Tamil Nadu government had banned purse seine fishing. So the next provision says that a coastal state should take into account the best scientific evidence available to it, shall ensure through proper conservation and management measures that the maintenance of living resources in the exclusive economic zone is not endangered by over-exploitation. So here the author suggests that the Supreme Court should have looked into this aspect of overexploitation and should have also looked into the impact of excessive fishing in the exclusive economic zone on the traditional fishermen. Now the author has also highlighted about Article 56 of United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Seas, and this provision mentions about rights, jurisdictions and duties of coastal state in the exclusive economic zone. So here it states that in the exclusive economic zone, the coastal state has sovereign rights for the purpose of exploring and exploiting, conserving and managing the natural resources, whether living or non-living, with regard to other activities for the economic exploitation and exploration of the zone. So a coastal state has sovereign rights for exploiting, conserving, exploring or managing the natural resources. But this must be done based on scientific evidence as well. The provision also mentions that in the exclusive economic zone, the coastal state has jurisdiction as provided for in the relevant provision of this convention with regard to establishment and use of artificial islands, installations and structures, marine scientific research, and protection and preservation of marine environment. So the author has also highlighted about this particular provisions of the United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Seas and has stated that based on this idea of protection and preservation of the marine environment, the state government of Tamil Nadu had banned the purse seine fishing in February 2022, which the Supreme Court has overturned. So in this article, you need to know that how fishing is done by using purse seine vessels, as it deploys massive net of approx 2 km and the depth of the net goes to approx 200 meters. And also the impact of excessive fishing done through the purse seine fishing. And this topic gets covered under GS paper 3 with respect to environment and ecology. Another important aspect which you should know from your prelims perspective is that territorial sea extends up to 12 nautical miles from the baseline. Contiguous zone extends up to 24 nautical miles from the baseline. And exclusive economic zone extends up to 200 nautical miles from the baseline. And the Supreme Court has allowed fishing using the purse seine vessels beyond territorial sea, that is beyond 12 nautical miles, but within 200 nautical miles. Now, based on our discussion, let us take up this particular question asked by UPSC in the prelims of 2022. The question is, with reference to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, consider the following statements. First, a coastal state has the right to establish the breadth of its territorial sea up to a limit not exceeding 12 nautical miles measured from the baseline determined in accordance with the convention. Now, as you can see in this map, the statement is correct. The second statement is, ships of all states, whether coastal or landlocked, enjoy the right of innocent passage through the territorial sea. Now, Article 17 of the United Nations Convention of the Laws of the Seas, along with Article 18 and 19, mentions about right of innocent passage. So it says that subject to this convention, ships of all states, whether coastal or landlocked, enjoy the right of innocent passage through the territorial sea. And here, passage means navigating through the territorial sea for the purpose of traversing that sea, that is traveling through that sea, without entering internal waters or calling at a roadstead or port facility outside internal waters, or proceeding to or from internal waters or a call at such roadstead or port facility. So here also the second statement becomes correct, as it has been provided under Article 17 of United Nations Convention of the Laws of the Sea. The third statement is, the exclusive economic zone shall not extend beyond 200 nautical miles from the baseline from which the breadth of the territorial sea is measured. Now here we have already discussed this aspect, and hence this statement also becomes correct. So the question was, which of the statements given above are correct? The correct answer here becomes D, that is 1, 2 and 3. Now, since UPSC has asked a question on innocent passage and also about the basic understanding of territorial sea, exclusive economic zone, hence we need to understand certain important highlights with respect to the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea as well. And Article 19, as suggested, provides for meaning of innocent passage. So it says that till when is a passage innocent? So it highlights that passage is innocent so long as it is not prejudicial to the peace and good order or security of the coastal state. Such passage shall take place in conformity with the convention, that is United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas, and with other rules of international law. It further highlights that passage of a foreign ship shall be considered to be prejudicial to the peace, good order or security of the coastal state if in the territorial sea it engages in any of the following activities. So if any foreign ship engages in the territorial sea in any of the manner provided under Article 19. So that engagement can be in the form of threat or use of force against the sovereignty, territorial integrity or political independence of the coastal state, or in any manner in violation of the principles of international law provided under the United Nations Charter. The threat can be in the form of any exercise or practice with weapons of any kind, any act aimed at collecting information to the prejudice of the defense or security of the coastal state, Any act of propaganda aimed at affecting the defense or security of the coastal state, launching, landing, or taking on board any aircraft, launching, landing, or taking on board any military device without the consent of the coastal state, loading or unloading of any commodity, currency, or any person contrary to the customs rules, fiscal rules, immigration or sanitary laws, or other regulations of the country. Any act of willful and serious pollution contrary to the convention or contrary to the rules or regulation of the country. Any fishing activities which is illegal or not allowed by the coastal state. The carrying out of research or survey activities. Any act aimed at interfering with any systems of communication or any other facilities or installations of the coastal state, or any other activity not having direct bearing on the passage. So any of these can be considered as a threat to innocent passage. So all these provisions, namely Article 17, Article 18 and Article 19 with respect to innocent passage becomes important because a question has been asked by UPSC with respect to innocent passage under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Thus this article becomes very important, particularly from the perspective of our prelims and also mains examination under GS paper 3 with respect to environment and ecology, and also with respect to international conventions. Now the next news to be discussed appears in the editorial section again on page number 8, where it mentions about shuffling feet. Navigating foreign trade dynamics needs sharper policy response. So basically this editorial highlights that India's export has declined, and in the sectors of engineering goods, pharmaceutical products, gems and jewelries, and also textiles. And along with this, even the imports have also declined. Now this can be said to be a good news, but the problem is that imports of non-gold and non-oil items have fallen. Now this also means decreasing the demand of non-gold or non-oil import items. Now the only silver lining here is that the current account deficit will not be impacted that much, which was considered earlier because of decline in import recently. However, the concern is that the decline is not with respect to import of gold or with respect to import of oil. Another silver lining as highlighted in this editorial is that the trade deficit with respect to goods has declined from $25 billion to $17.75 billion. And if this trend continues with respect to declining imports, then India's current account deficit, which is export minus import for the year 2022-23, will be lower than 3% of GDP. And this better current account deficit is also because of increase in remittances. So here in this news, let us understand certain basics with respect to current account deficit. Now, other than the silver linings highlighted in this editorial, it also mentions certain concerns as flagged by Commerce Minister and also by India's Finance Minister. Now, the Commerce Minister has highlighted about the two-way effect with respect to export and import, and has also suggested that this overall signals lowering of demand, and it is also reflective of a slowing world economy, and overall it will hurt export in the longer run. And expressing similar concerns, India's Finance Minister has also flagged concerns particularly for the prospects of Indian exporters. So despite the fact that India's current account deficit for the period 2022-23 will be lower than 3% of GDP, yet concerns have been expressed by Minister of Commerce and also that of Finance. Now in this editorial, let us understand some of the basics with respect to current account deficit and also balance of payment. Now before going through the basics, let's go through these questions asked by UPSC in the prelims of 2014 and also 2013. So this question was with reference to balance of payments, which of the following constitute the current account. So here they're asking about what constitutes current account. Options are balance of trade, foreign assets, balance of invisibles, and special drawing rights. So here you need to be very clear with respect to the constituents of current account. Now here the question was the balance of payments of a country is a systematic record of. Options were A, all import and export transactions of a country during a given period of time, normally a year. B, goods exported from a country during a year. C, economic transaction between the government of one country to another. And D, capital movements from one country to another. So here we need to understand the basics with respect to balance of payments and also about current account. According to NCRT, the balance of payments record the transaction in goods, in services, and assets between residents of a country with the rest of the world for a specified time, typically a year. And there are two main accounts in the balance of payment. These are current account and the capital account. So coming to the answer of questions asked in 2013, here the correct answer becomes A. That is all import and export transactions of a country during a given period of time, normally a year. So we have already seen that there are two main accounts of balance of payment. These are current account and second is the capital account. So first of all, let us understand about the current account. Now, as you can see in this particular picture, current account comprises of trades in goods, trade in services, and transfer payments. Trade in goods include exports of goods and import of goods. Trade in services include both net factor income and net non-factor income. Here, let us understand this basic difference between factor income and non-factor income. Now, generally, there are four factors of production, which are land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So, any income earned from these factors of production becomes a part of net factor income, including net income from compensation of employees or net investment income. And if we talk about non-factor income, it is the net sale of service products like shipping, banking, tourism, software services, etc. And the third is transfer payments, which generally comprises of gifts or remittances or grants coming from any person living in another country or any foreign government. So overall, current account is the record of trade in goods, services, and transfer payments. Trade in goods includes export and import of goods. Trade in services includes factor income and non-factor income transactions, and transfer payments are the receipts which the resident of a country get for free. That is, they do not have to perform any service for which they are receiving these amount without having to provide any goods or services in return. These remittances consist of gift, remittances, and grants, and they could be given by the government of any country or by any private citizens living abroad. Now, current account is said to be balanced when the earnings is equal to the expenditure. And a surplus current account means that a nation is a lender to other countries, which also means that the receipt or the income is greater than the expenditure. Whereas a deficit current account means that a nation is a borrower from other countries. Now, when we talk about balance on current account, it has two components. The first component is balance of trade and the second component is balance of invisibles. So, current account transaction has two aspects or two components: balance of trade or trade balance and balance of invisibles. Now, if we look into this question asked in 2014, the question was with reference to balance of payments, which of the following constitutes the current account? So here it includes balance of trade and also includes balance of invisibles. So here the correct answer becomes C, that is 1 and 3. Now, balance of trade is the difference between value of exports and the value of imports of goods of a country in a given period of time. So there can be three scenarios: when export is greater than import, when export is equal to import, and when export is less than import. So balance of trade is said to be in balance when exports of goods are equal to import of goods. There is surplus balance of trade, or balance of trade is in surplus if a country exports more goods than what it imports. So in this particular case, that is first case, where the export of goods is more than the import, then we can say that the country is running into balance of trade surplus. Whereas in case where export is less than import, then in this case, we can say that the balance of trade of a country is running into deficit. So it highlights that trade deficit will arise if a country imports more goods than what it exports. So it means import is more as compared to the exports. So in such case where import is more than export, then in such case we will say that the country is running into current account deficit. Now coming to the second component of current account deficit, which is balance of invisibles. Now invisibles include services, transfers and flow of income that take place between different countries. So it says that net invisible is the difference between value of exports and value of imports of invisible of a country in a given period of time. Now after understanding about the components of current account, let us understand about capital account. So capital account records all international transaction of assets. And if you can see in this picture, capital accounts includes investments, external borrowings and external assistance. Investments can be in the form of direct investment or portfolio investment. Examples of direct investments are FDI, that is foreign direct investment, equity capital, reinvested earnings and other direct capital flows. Whereas examples of portfolio investment includes FIIs, offshore funds, etc. Now coming to external borrowings, examples include external commercial borrowings or short-term debt. And external assistance includes government aid, intergovernmental transfers, multilateral and bilateral loans as well. So it says that capital account records all international transaction of assets. An asset is basically a form in which wealth is held. So in any form in which wealth is held is said to be an asset, and it includes money, stock, bonds, government debt, etc. Now it has also highlighted about an example. So it says that purchase of asset is a debit item on capital account. So if an Indian buys a car of UK, then it enters capital account transactions as a debit because foreign exchange is flowing out of India. Whereas on the other hand, sale of assets like sale of shares of an Indian company, say to a Chinese customer or to a Japanese customer, is a credit item on the capital account. So if we buy international asset, it is considered as a debt, and if we sell our asset to any international firm, then it is considered as a credit on capital account. And based on this, the concept of balance of capital arises. So it says that capital account is in balance when capital inflows is equal to capital outflow. So when capital inflow is equal to capital outflow, then there is capital account balance. Now surplus in capital account arises when capital inflow is more as compared to capital outflow, whereas deficit in capital account arises when capital inflows are lesser than capital outflows. Now look into this question asked in the prelims of 2013. The question was, which of the following constitute capital account? Options were foreign loans, foreign direct investments, private remittances and portfolio investment. Now if you remember the components of current account, it included transfer payments of which remittance was a part. Hence remittance is not part of capital account. Whereas if you look into the components of capital account, it includes investments, external borrowings and also external assistance. Hence in this, foreign loans is a part of capital account, FDI is a part of capital account and portfolio investment is also a part of capital account. But private remittances is not part of capital account. Hence the correct answer here becomes B, that is 1, 2 and 4. So it's important to understand the basics with respect to current account and also capital account, as questions have been asked by UPSC in the past in the prelims examination. So this topic becomes important both from the perspective of prelims and mains under the section of GS paper 3 regarding Indian economy. Now let's take up our last article appearing on page number 12. And this news is with respect to inauguration of Aadi Mahotsav inaugurated by India's Prime Minister. He says that world has a lot to learn from the tribal population of the country. So Aadi Mahotsav is an attempt to showcase tribal culture on the national stage, and it celebrates the spirit of tribal culture, crafts, cuisine, commerce and traditional art. Now this year the Mahotsav has been inaugurated in Delhi, and this Mahotsav is an annual initiative of TRIFED, that is Tribal Cooperative Marketing Development Federation Limited, which functions under the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. So this program, that is Aadi Mahotsav, will showcase rich and diverse heritage of tribes from across the country in over 200 stalls at the venue in New Delhi. Around 1,000 tribal artisans will participate in the Mahotsav. And another important aspect that since 2023 is being celebrated as International Year of Millets, so along with usual attractions like handicrafts, handloom, pottery, jewelry, etc., special focus in the Mahotsav has also been on showcasing Shri Ann, grown by tribals, which is a basket of millets. So this news basically becomes important from the perspective of prelims, and here from the mains perspective you need to know about TRIFED. So TRIFED, or Tribal Cooperative Marketing Development Federation of India, came into existence in 1987. It is a national level apex organization and functions under the administrative control of Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Objective of TRIFED is socio-economic development of tribal people in the country by way of marketing development of tribal products. And the activity of TRIFED can be divided into two categories: minor forest produce development and retail marketing development. And the approach of marketing development of tribal products envisages TRIFED's role as a facilitator and also as a service provider. Further, TRIFED empowers tribal people with knowledge, tools, and pool of information so that the tribal population can undertake their operations in a more systematic and scientific manner. Further, TRIFED also involves capacity building of the tribal people through sensitization, formation of self-help groups, and also imparting training to them to undertake particular activity, exploring marketing opportunities or possibilities in the country as well as in the international markets, and also to create opportunities for marketing of tribal products on a sustainable basis. So TRIFED basically provides a platform to the tribal population so that they can market their indigenous products. Now, Tech for Tribals is an initiative of TRIFED. So TRIFED has launched Tech for Tribals program to develop tribal entrepreneurship and capacity building for tribal forest produce gatherers enrolled under the Pradhan Mantri Van Dhan Yojana. Tech for Tribals has been launched in partnership with institutes of national importance, and the trainees generally undergo a 30-day program over 6 weeks comprising 120 sessions. And Tech for Tribals is an initiative of TRIFED supported by Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. Now, talking about Pradhan Mantri Van Dhan Yojana, it is a market-linked tribal entrepreneurship development program, and it forms cluster of tribal SHGs, that is self-help groups, and strengthen them into tribal producer companies. Now, Pradhan Mantri Van Dhan Yojana is an initiative targeting livelihood generation for tribals, and this is done by harnessing the wealth of forest, which is Van Dhan. And the program aims to tap into traditional knowledge and skill set of tribals by adding technology and information technology to upgrade at each stage, and also to convert the tribal wisdom into viable economic activity. Now, the idea is to set up tribal community owned minor forest produce centric multi-purpose Van Dhan Vikas Kendras, or generally referred as the Kendra, in predominantly tribal districts. So again, the whole idea is socio-economic development of the tribal population and also providing them the platform and also the skill, as it not only encourages them but it also provides a platform to showcase their skill and also earn revenue. So the whole idea is socio-economic development of the tribal population by engaging them and also providing certain platform to their skills. So this news becomes important particularly from the perspective of social justice and also important schemes for the vulnerable sections of the population. So with this, we come to an end to today's discussion. And in the end, do keep a track on the upcoming Supreme Court judgment where it is referring the Nebam Rabia case, where the Supreme Court earlier held that Deputy Speaker does not have the authority to decide disqualification when a notice for his removal is pending. So we will discuss this topic when the Supreme Court finally delivers its verdict, but keep a track on this particular judgment. Thank you for watching DNS.